Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Elisa Basso. I take care of the endoscopy products within the company Steelco. And to begin with, let me thank Dejan and the whole staff of D&D Commerce for the exceptional organization of this event. Thank you so much. Well, what do? I basically deal with endoscopy and endoscopy products. I stay by the customer side. Next week I will be going to Hungary to visit customers and train them on the products and on the activities to be done with endoscopes. So just to let you know that also with Dan, I'm available to come to Serbia to help you out in dealing with endoscopy departments. Just to my knowledge, how many of you are working directly with endoscopes inside here? A few. Okay, good. Okay, so what I would like to do today is to give you a few pills on endoscopy guidelines, both at an international and national levels. But I will go very quick on that also because my colleague has already given you a very good overview of how the cleaning should be made. So I have a part of my presentation dealing with that, but we can skip that because we've already seen it this morning with her. I will then present the line of products that Steelco has to respond to endoscopy needs. And to, let's say, to end the presentation, I would like to show you some real projects we've been working on at Steelco to show you that as a manufacturer, we consider ourselves also your partners in developing new projects, new layouts. My colleague Andrew yesterday mentioned that. So I would like to give you an idea of what we can do for you. Okay. So there are several standards, both, as I mentioned, both at an international and at a national level, that basically gives us some guidelines, some instructions on how to correctly reprocess the endoscopes. What they have in common, all of them, is that they give us some instructions. They tell us what we have to do in order to provide an accurate reprocessing of endoscopes. And when reprocessing endoscopes, we need to do a lot of things. It's a procedure made up of different steps. Here in the slide, you can see all the activities to the right that you need to do when you need to reprocess an endoscope. You start from bedside treatment when the endoscope is still attached at the endoscopy column in the patient room. And after that, we move into the washing area using closed systems, as mentioned this morning by my colleague. That is very important to avoid cross-contamination. Considering that I won't go too much into details in how the manual cleaning has to be made, because you already saw that, I would like to tell you that what we are seeing as a company and as a manufacturer of equipment in guidelines are changes towards the use of automatic systems. Why? This is because there is a strong need to have all the cycles standardized. All the cycles needs to be repeatable, and each one of them needs to be exactly the same. So when we do things manually, this of course cannot happen because we are humans. Imagine yourself washing an endoscope for 8 hours a day. Of course, the very first endoscope we will wash will be perfectly washed, but imagine yourself washing an endoscope after 8 hours. Of course, the efficacy and our strength would be completely different. So this is where we enter in this process as a manufacturer. We want to give you the products that can help you handle all these activities in the best possible way and according to what the standards are saying. So as you can see, to the right, you have some symbols. So there are some activities that can be performed manually, others that can be performed also in an automatic system. Let's take a look, for example, at manual cleaning. So far, manual cleaning has always been done manually, but now guidelines are changing their requirements, and they are also introducing some automatic systems to help you do this very tiring activity. And we have one over there. So during the workshop, we can take a look at that and how it works. It is an automatic system that enables you to do cycles that are always the same and cycles that can be traced through the use of a printer, for example, with a ticket that comes out stating what has been done during the whole cycle. So these are the activities: bedside treatment, leak test and manual cleaning, and then washing inside, preferably inside an endoscope washer, and then we move to drying and storage. I will skip this part here because it relates to the standards to be used on manual cleaning, and we've already saw that this morning. And anyway, you will have all the presentations available translated in Serbian at the end of the program, so if you're interested, you can also take a look. I would like to spend a few words on this very important standard. The 15883, my colleague Irina mentioned that also yesterday, is an international standard that regulates the washing performance and the washing requirements of washing machines in general. So this is the structure the standard is made up of. It has an horizontal, let's say, standard, the part 1, that simply provides the users with the general requirements in terms of washing. And then there are several vertical standards that focus on specific washing systems. For example, part 2 is for general washer disinfectors for surgical instruments. Part 3 is for flushers. The one that is dedicated to endoscope reprocessing is part 4. Part 4 and Part 5. And Part 5 gives us some indications of the tests that as a manufacturer we need to perform and we need to carry out when validating our machines. So this is the summary table of all the tests that this standard is requiring us to do as a manufacturer before launching a product into the market. We won't, of course, go into details on that, but this is something very important I would like you to take a look at. So in this table, you see a list of microorganisms that we need to kill to be able to provide high-level disinfection of our endoscopes. This is the reason why the standard, the 15883, demands and requires that endoscope washers are closed system. What do I mean with that? Closed systems means that these endoscope washers need to work only and exclusively with the chemical substances that have been validated by the manufacturer of the machine. So we cannot use whatever chemical we like because we need to provide evidence that the chemical we are using is doing all of these things. We need to have a 6-log reduction on vegetative bacteria, a 5-log reduction on mycobacterial, and a 4-log reduction on fungal spores. Okay, so using whatever chemical simply doesn't work here. We need to provide the efficacy of the cycle, we need to use specific chemicals. And this is the part of 15883 that specifies that, and I'm stressing this point because what we see as a manufacturer is that often there are tenders coming out asking at the same time for the compliance to the 15883 and the use of free chemicals. Of course, this is not possible because it's a contradiction in terms. Okay, so this is a message that I would like to convey to you today, to bring home. Okay, chemicals needs to be the ones validated by the manufacturer. And here you see the extracts of the 15883 that talk about that. Another important thing of the endoscope washers is self-disinfection. Yesterday we saw in a presentation that bagged bacteria with the luggage and the message to bring him away. Hospitals, a colleague of mine told you that hospitals are banks of bacteria. That's right, that's correct. So to be able to have safe equipment, we need to perform activities like self-disinfection. This is very, very important, and this is something that the norm is requiring. So what shall we do? We shall have equipment with the possibility to have either a chemical or a thermal self-disinfection. The standard specifies that the thermal way is the preferred method. Why? Because if we are doing a chemical self-disinfection, then we would need to change the chemical once again. We cannot use the same chemical we are using to perform the normal cycle, because over the time, bacteria can develop a resistance to that specific substance. So that's the reason why we need to change chemicals, and this is a cost for you. You have to buy chemicals. Thermal disinfection, of course, is the preferred method because you only heat up the water up to a certain level, very high temperatures, 80 degrees. You keep it there for around 10 minutes, and through the use of very high temperature water, you get to the same result of using another chemical. So, and this is possible with our machines because all the chambers, you have them there, you can see them later, are made in stainless steel. So we don't have any plastic problem with plastic withstanding high temperatures because stainless steel can withstand also temperatures over 90 degrees. And this is for what concerns endoscope washers. But we saw earlier that drying is also a very important activity. Why? Because there are some bacteria, the so-called gram-negative bacteria, that like a lot wet environments. So what happens if we have some humidity left inside the channels of our endoscopes? That humidity could be a cause for a reproliferation and recreation of bacteria over the time. That's why it's important that at the end of the day, all the endoscopes are properly dried. This is a new standard that came out 3 years ago, regulating drying and storage cabinet for endoscopes. Here you see an example, the very first page. Basically, the idea is to provide some performance and some technical requirements to drying and storage cabinets so that they can become a controlled environment for endoscopes, so that we can check that the microbiological quality of the endoscope is kept and is maintained after the washing cycle into these drying cabinets. Even here you see the list of tests that all manufacturers need to perform before launching these products into the market. So as you can see, we didn't go too much into details about these norms, but what I wanted to transmit to you with these few pills is the importance of having and doing standard activities when handling endoscopes. So we need to provide cycles that are the same, that are repeatable, that are standardized, and above all, what is important is traceability. As a producer, as a manufacturer in Italy, we are, for example, cooperating with the Italian Scientific Association of Endoscope Nurses. And we are currently revising the Italian guidelines on endoscope reprocessing. What we are seeing, we are cooperating also with other national scientific societies, laboratories, other manufacturers like us. And what we are seeing, the trend we are seeing is definitely towards automation and above all traceability. The president of the Italian Society for Endoscope Nurses always says, what is not written equals to be not done. So we need to have proof of what we've done. That's why in all our machines, starting from the endoscope pre-washing systems for the automation of the manual cleaning, up to the drying cabinets, all our equipment have a very detailed ticket where you can see everything that has happened. You can see how long a particular phase has lasted. You can see the milliliters of detergent that the machine has used so that you can check to see if the contact time has been respected. And contact time is one of the most important things. We need to respect the contact time written in the technical specifications of the chemical manufacturer. So this is basically what I want to convey, the importance to follow standards and to have automation and traceability in our daily work. And I'm done with the first presentation. Now, what I would like to show you is how, as a company, we translate the requirements that the norms are requiring to us into real products for you. So we will talk about the products that we can offer. Okay, here we go. So you will see that later, as a manufacturer, we can offer a complete picture and a complete solution for all your needs inside the endoscopy departments. What do I mean with that? I mean that we have products for the pre-washing system, for the washing system, for the drying, the storage, the transport of endoscopes from one area to the other, and also some traceability softwares that enable you to check what has been done during the overall reprocessing stages. What is behind all our products is the strength and the effort that as a company we make to provide you with safety products. What is important for us is to have products that are safe, that are reliable, and this is the reason why the production department is completely located in Italy, because there we can have a better quality control system on products. So in our headquarters, there is also the production department of everything that we sell. And even though we sell around 90% of our products abroad, everything is made in Italy to check the quality of the products. So safety is important to us, and we translate safety into real products through these activities. We have products that are that have safe chemical handling, for example. This is important for you because when having to change chemicals, we know that the chemicals to be used in endoscopy can be dangerous. We are talking about peracetic acid, we are talking about hydrogen peroxide, so we need to provide you with solutions to handle these chemicals without compromising your health and the health of the patients. So all the products are designed to provide you a safe handling of the products. We have, for example, in some of our models, for example, we have the RFID recognition of chemicals inside the machine. What is that? It is a system that basically reads the label of the chemical and that communicates directly with the machine so that if, for example, by mistake, you put the wrong tank inside the machine, or if you invert, for example, the tank of the detergent and the one of the disinfectant, then the machine will recognize that automatically, it will stop the cycle, and it won't enable you to go ahead with the cycle. So this is also a safety feature that is present in our washers. All of them can be configured with particular traceability softwares to enable you to check the overall cycle, and some of them also can have some special accessories for the treatment also of special and very critical instruments like the duodenoscope. I'm sure that my colleague knows about what happens a few years ago. There was an FDA warning coming from America in the use of duodenoscopes. Because they are these instruments are very, very delicate and complex in their structure. So this makes it very difficult to clean them thoroughly. And what happened is that with the outburst of these, let's say, antibiotic-resistant bacteria, the normal washing systems weren't enough to clean these particular systems in the right way, in the proper way. So what have we thought as a company? Okay, we need to provide an answer to that. Your challenges, your priorities are our challenges. We want to provide you with something that is useful for you and that makes life easier for you. So we have also developed this special, for example, accessory to enable a better cleaning of duodenoscopes. And here you have the complete picture of all the products that we can offer. And as you can see, we can offer the complete solutions. So we have the EPW100, which is the automation of manual cleaning. and I will explain a bit more about that later on. We have a very wide range of choice in terms of endoscope washers. We have washers with different capacity, washers that can treat 1 endoscope per cycle, 2 endoscopes per cycle, or 3 endoscopes per cycle, for example. And then we go ahead with the drying cabinets. We can offer both vertical and horizontal drying cabinets, and even here I will explain a bit more on the changes we will see in the future years with the norms and regulations, because in the past guidelines were asking for just for vertical drying cabinets. What we are seeing today is that the trend is changing also towards the horizontal ones, and I will explain you why later on. To start with, I would like to show you let's say the latest innovation we introduced in our endoscopy line. This is called the OCS range, and it's called like that because OCS is an acronym for One Connection System. It's a unique connection system that enables you to save a lot of time when having to reprocess the scopes. So you know that traditionally, the connection system was made so that it was possible to connect all the 6 or 7 channels of the endoscopes with dedicated connectors. But in the past, what happened is that you had to change all these connections, so you basically had to connect and disconnect them every time you moved from one stage of the whole reprocessing cycle to the next one. So let's say I begin with the automation of manual cleaning. I have to connect all these connectors, and then I move into the endoscope washers. Then I need to disconnect them and reconnect them with the ones dedicated to the endoscope washers. And the same when I go to the drying cabinet. With this system here, we do the connection only once at the very beginning of the process, and then you're done. What you need to move is only the OCS system, but I will show you that with a video right now, from one device to the other. So let's take a look. Down there you have a small video. Okay, so you know that you have to connect all the channels of the endoscopes to be able to correctly reprocess them. So in the past, you needed to do this activity every time you moved from one stage to the next one. Now, with the OCS system, which is this one, we also call it octopus because of the shape of the connector. You do that once at the very beginning of the process. This is the automation of manual cleaning. These are the washers, and these are the drying cabinets, and all of them have the same connection inside of the device so that you can use the same connectors. Here is an example of how you connect a scope. This is the station for pre-cleaning. So you basically do this activity now at the very beginning of the process, and then you're done. You put your scope inside a mesh tray, and you move inside the endoscope washers. And all of them, regardless of their capacity, have the same connection system. So you see, you're not touching the scope anymore. You're basically using that part of the connector, the white part, and you connect it to the side of the machine. So here you see the different models that we have. The one you saw earlier was the smaller one with a capacity of 1 scope. Here we go into a bigger one. And as you see to the side of the machine, the connection system is exactly the same. So you don't have to disconnect anymore all the different channels. It's very, very easy. And this is the drying cabinet with exactly the same system. Okay, here we go. So Here you see how it is made. We have the octopus part, let's say, the one that looks like an octopus that is attached to the endoscope. And then you have the female part that is built inside all our devices. So what's the benefit of using this system in comparison to the traditional connection systems? First of all, you gain time, because as we said, the connection part will be done only once instead of several times. But the greatest benefit of this system here is that you're not touching the endoscope anymore. You're not manipulating the endoscope, and you know how critical these scopes and these instruments are. So it's very easy to damage them, and it costs a fortune to repair endoscopes. So what we wanted to improve was also this dimension. Using these systems here, you're basically decreasing the rate of manipulation of endoscopes, because you're basically moving from one stage to the other just with your mesh tray and the OCS attached to the endoscope without having to touch the endoscope anymore. Do you like it? Yeah. Good. Okay, so let's move into a detailed description of all the products that we have available. I would like to start with the automation of manual cleaning. This morning we saw how important a proper manual cleaning is. And as for sterilization, if washing is not properly made, then all the other phases can be compromised. The efficacy of the overall cycle at the end, then it is compromised. So it's very, very important to perform a proper manual cleaning. That's why we developed this system here. As you can see, this EPW 100 basically takes out from you, from the user, the activity of leak testing and of flushing, rinsing, and purging the endoscope manually. That is a very strong activity to be made manually. Those who do that every day knows how difficult it is to use the syringes, respect the contact time of the detergent to clean the endoscope inside the channels manually. So this machine does all these activities automatically. The only activity that still needs to be done manually for the moment is the brushing, the mechanical brushing of the channels. But apart from that, the machine does everything else alone. So it also provides you with the possibility of having traceability. All the units have a USB key, and you can also have them with a printer, so that at the end of the cycle, you will exactly know what has been done during that cycle. And all cycles will be exactly the same, repeatability and standardization, as we saw at the beginning of the presentation. Another extra advantage that we can provide you with these kind of products is the fact that they can also be connected to some special sinks to provide you with the complete automation of the system. This means that you, as a user, won't have neither to load and, let's say, drain the water from the sink manually, because it will be the machine that will communicate directly with the sink, telling the sink to load the water into the sink or to drain the water when it comes the moment of draining. So this is a real innovation in manual cleaning. And of course, also this provides safety for all of you. Safety because we have the elimination of that repetitive movements and strain injury risks. Leak test is completely automatic. So if there are some problems with some leakages into the scope, that machine will stop and it will enable you to take out the scope and send it to maintenance without compromising the instrument itself. And then traceability. Here you can see you also have a set of badges to operate this kind of machine. And you can have a double choice here. You can either decide to go ahead and communicate with the machine through the display, or in an attempt to avoid cross-contamination, considering that your hands are dirty in this specific stage of endoscope reprocessing, we thought of developing these badges here that can be then washed inside the endoscope washers, so that you're avoiding the touch also of the machine itself. You're not contaminating anything, you're just using these badges that are read by an integrated barcode reader into the machine to communicate with the machine, go ahead with the cycle, stop the cycle, do, for example, the auto-sonification, the self-disinfection of the machine, and so on. Here you see some examples of certificates. As I told you, considering that all our products have been validated and certified before launching them into the market, we also have all the certificates available here. Certificates that are made from independent third parties that are certificated at the European level. This is our products for endoscope washing, EW1 and EW1S. The S version is the brand new innovation with the OCS system we saw earlier. The EW1 is the standard model with the traditional connection system. So the basic differences between these two models is the fact that the new model has an automatic door, the old one has a manual hinge door. Of course, the connection system is different. And then the new EW1 has this RFID system for chemicals that I was mentioning at the beginning of the presentation. This is something very interesting also. So what is this? They seem two machines, right? But actually, the structure and the frame is a unique one. So how does this work? This is something really, really nice for you, and this is something that our customers appreciate a lot because it provides you with a great flexibility. Why am I saying so? Imagine to have an endoscope washer that treats automatically two scopes inside the same chamber. Then you need to wait to have two scopes available before activating the cycle. With this system here, the chambers are two. They are completely separated, even though they are within the same structure. So basically, this system here enables you to treat one endoscope at a time. When it comes, when it's available, you can activate, for example, the lower chamber, and you can wait for the other endoscope to come before activating the upper chamber. So this is something that was thought and developed for your flexibility, to give you, more space of action in your endoscopy departments. It's available for the old system, for the traditional connection system, and also for the new OCS system. We have the two alternatives. Flexibility, I will repeat this word, I think, 100 times today. Forgive me for that. But flexibility is really the key for you. And you can see that also from the wide range of accessories that we can offer. With an EW1 that can treat only, as we saw, one scope, one big flexible scope, you can have the possibility of treating more than one fiber or cystoscopes, for example, or you can have the possibility of treating more than one rigid scope. So we have a washing card for 11 rigid scopes in this very small machine that you have over there. Okay, so flexibility is the key. The same for EW2. The concept is exactly the same. Traditional system in EW2, traditional connection system, new connection system with the OCS in EW2 2S. Automatic door in the OCS version, hinged door in the traditional one. The rest is exactly the same. Even here, a very wide range of choices, and as you can see down there, we also have what we call safe cases, safe boxes, to reprocess also the TOE probes, the transesophageal probes, okay? So we have that safe case that protect the electronic part during the cycle, keeping the safe pressurized so that you can clean the flexible part of the probe also. And then we have the bigger model, the EW2 3S, with a capacity of 3 scopes. Now we move to drying cabinets. We saw how important drying is. So this is the reason why we have developed a complete range of cabinets also, both vertical and horizontal. Why did the guidelines in the past recommend the vertical cabinets? Because in the past we didn't have any filtered drying cabinets. They were just normal cabinets where we hanged the scopes waiting for them to dry. So, of course, having them hanged vertically through the gravity could help the water to go down. But using drying ventilated cabinets with a constant flow of filtered air, vertical or horizontal doesn't matter anymore, because there is a continuous flow of air going inside all the channels of the scope, both in the vertical model and in the horizontal one. And honestly, we always prefer to go for the horizontal ones, because in those models you are avoiding a mishandling of the endoscope. You're touching the endoscope less, because you have separated levels, one from the other. You simply put the endoscope inside the tray and you load that into the drying cabinet without touching and manipulating it to be able to hang it into the supports of the vertical cabinet. The very nice feature of all these cabinets is the fact that they have been certified from an independent laboratory to maintain the aseptic conditions inside the channels for 720 hours. This means 30 days. So this means that once you put an endoscope inside that cabinet, it's been certified that it can stay there up to 30 days. Then you need to reprocess it. So this will give you an enormous advantage inside your endoscope departments, because you won't have to do those, cycles, reprocessing cycles every 72 hours, but only after 30 days. So this will enable you to save a lot of money, because you will do less cycles to reprocess the scopes. Okay, so here you can see how they look like. This is the vertical model. You have some cassettes, some guides that come out and that enable you to properly load the scope. This is the horizontal version. It's available in two configurations, with mesh trays or with closed containers, plastic containers also. This is the version with the OCS, the octopus. And as you can see, we also have an extension of the OCS in the very first and in the very last level to enable a better handling and a more ergonomic use from the users. All of them have traceability. They are all equipped with a printer. You can equip them also with barcode reader to be able to trace all the endoscope that you're putting inside. We can also offer transportation systems, trolleys, cassettes. We also introduced these tamper-proof seals to close the containers in which you transport your endoscopes, so that at the very first sight you will be able to understand if what you have put inside is a dirty scope, because you would use the red tamper-proof seals, or a clean scope with the green tamper-proof seals. And then we also have traceability solutions. Traceability solutions that can work at two different levels. You can decide to trace the cycle itself, or you can decide to trace the overall process of reprocessing of the endoscope. So in every single moment with this traceability system, you will be able to know exactly where your endoscope is. If it's being used on a patient, if it's, for example, being reprocessed inside an endoscope washer, if it's, for example, out for maintenance. So you will just have to interrogate your computer, and the computer and the traceability software will tell you exactly where your endoscope is. These are some interfaces of the traceability system, and then these are some accessories. So to be able to prove that that all the cycles have been done properly, we've also developed a line of accessory of chemicals and biological indicators, protein detection tests, for example. We have a kit to enable you to sample the final rinse water for the microbiological sampling of the water and the microbiological controls, and so on. This is what I was mentioning earlier, the support, the special support for the duodenoscope. As you can see, you can place it in every single washing cart we have available, and it has a specific nozzle that flushes the distal part with the elevator channel of the duodenoscope to provide a better water pressure exactly on the elevator channel and to be able to clean that thoroughly. What I would like to stress is the fact that when having to plan, for example, a new endoscopy department, or for example, also to revise and to renovate an old one, then it's always a problem. We never know where to start from, especially inside the hospitals, right? So what we really want to do for you is to be your partner in this activity. So we can come over, we can help you understanding exactly what are your needs and what are the gold standards that are present, for example, at an international level, at a European level, to help you build the perfect endoscopy department. Why is that so important? Because, as you know, endoscopy is moving from a merely diagnostic activity into a more operational activity. At the beginning, endoscopes were simply used to saw, to see something inside the body of the patient. Now they're using them also to do some operations, some interventions. So the degree of criticity behind these instruments is changing nowadays. So they are semi-critical instruments, but in some cases we might consider them also as a critical instruments because they get in touch with blood. Okay, that's why it's very important to focus on areas of separation, for example, inside the endoscopy departments. We need to separate the clean area from the dirty area, okay? And here I have an example. This is an example of a region in the world that has decided to centralize the washing activities of all the hospitals of the regions in which we were located. So basically, all the hospitals have different endoscopy departments, and then once they perform their activities, they send the dirty endoscopes out into this central system. Here you can see how we have developed it. So there are different colors that show the different parts of this layout. The red one is the dirty area, and then the blue and the green ones are the clean areas. Okay, and then as you can see here, there are all the changing rooms, lockers, bathrooms for female, male, and so on. So this is something that we can prepare for you too. Just to give you an example. So here you can see the dirty scopes that are arriving into this centralized system through a truck. We have an acceptance area with the traceability system to trace what is arriving. And then we have the dirty area with the automation of the manual cleaning. As you can see here, we have also some special cabinets to store the OCS. These are all the sinks, and take a look at the dimension of the sink. Do you see that the sink is very long? We decided to offer these specific sinks because when doing the leak test, if the endoscope is coiled too much and if the leakage is minimum, then you risk not to see it. So this way you will be able to lie the scope in all its length into the sink. Then you have pass-through endoscope washers. So you load the dirty scopes from the dirty area here, and then you retrieve them from the clean area, the blue one there. But considering that when the scopes are arriving, they are arriving into transport systems with closed cassettes, then we also need to reprocess these cassettes besides the endoscopes, to have clean ones. So we have also introduced here in this very special endoscopy department also some trolley washers to wash the cassettes and the trolleys themselves. 2 doors, even here, pass through. You load them from one side and you unload them from the other. Here is the unloading side of the washers. And here you can see the drying cabinets. Even drying cabinets have 2 doors in this case here. So you download them, you load them into the clean area. So once the endoscope has been cleaned inside the washer disinfector, you simply put it directly into the drying cabinet. And then you take it out from the clean side. You can seal, for example, the cassettes. We have a low temperature sterilizer down there in case, for example, they are using rigid scopes that needs to be reprocessed with low temperature, a sealer. And then here we have the clean area with all the scopes that have been reprocessed and that are ready to be sent out to the hospitals once again. This is another brief example of an installation we did in Italy, with the clear separation of areas and with the automation of manual cleaning. As you can see, you have the 3 different areas. Here are the 2 sinks with the automation of manual cleaning, and then you have, do you see the model? I explained to you before. This hospital really, really liked this system here, because it's like having 3 machines. But in reality, we are talking about 6 different ones that you can load them in 6 different moments. And these can be also passed through, as you can see. So you load them from one side, and then you take out the clean scope from the other side of the room. The same applies to drying cabinets. You load them, and then you unload them here in the corridor to go directly into the patient rooms. So for today, I'm done. I wanted to give you some insights of endoscopy and of the future trends also, what we are seeing as a manufacturer that is coming also in international norms, in international regulations. And what I want to convey is that we are here to help you out. So as my colleague Andrew mentioned, we are not simply a manufacturer. Of course, we can provide you with a complete solution here, but the complete solution comprises also the design, the developing of the layout, the consultancy activities we can do for you to help you have a very good endoscopy department that complies to the international norms and to the golden standards that you can see all over the world. Thank you.